What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Altitude Show. I hope you enjoyed your Memorial Day weekend and shared a thanks out there to all of our veterans and active military for the sacrifices they make for all of our freedoms. It's good to be back. This episode is the second part to Brian Gritty Call and I's conversation we had a little while ago in Montana, a couple months ago, and it starts getting deeper. I hope you caught the first part. We're going all over the place, guys. Mental health, Johnny Cash, 9 Inch Nails, cancel culture, discipline, living with your weaknesses, cohabitating with depression and anxiety, etc., and on and on. We sat until late at night talking. I hope you enjoy it. And then we'll have more episodes coming this week. I'm looking forward to get back on a normal schedule. Don't forget to support Mountain Tough, the presenting sponsor of the Altitude Show. Mountain Tough has helped me get my life in order, not only physically, but also mentally. I have never been in better shape. When you're in better physical shape, you're in better mental shape, and you tend to get other aspects of your life in better order as well. That's just the benefit of being healthy. You tend to see other stuff in your life that you're like, hey, I conquered this physical health thing. Maybe I can get my finances in order. Maybe I can get my relationships in order. Regardless, Mountain Tough is an amazing program. It is an app-based fitness company that provides plans for all the way to the elite mountain hunter, all the way to the beginning person who's aspiring to be a mountain hunter, or maybe you're just aspiring to be just in better shape. You don't even like hunting. It doesn't really matter. Mountain Tough is there for you. They have their on-ramp program for people that are just getting going. They have their minimum gear daily program for those that don't have a lot of time or a lot of equipment at their house. They post one every day and they delete it every day. They change it all the time. It's amazing. They have their Backcountry 2.0 program, which is what I'm doing right now. And that is designed to specifically get you in shape for the fall hunting season. There's about, I believe, 12 or 13 weeks left until hunting season. Now is the time to get started, because by the time you usually get started, we both know that it's too late. You're not going to have enough time to get your body in order. So get started today. Go to mountaintough.com/Dave. Use my code Dave for 10% off your subscription. Use my code Dave for 10% off. Also, while we're at it, go support our other partners. GoHunt.com. GoHunt.com is where I do all of my research for upcoming hunts. It's where I use their maps to plan actually where I'm going. Got a million amazing layers and different features on the maps program. It's incredible. But I also go to their gear shop. I literally was just on there. I bought a couple things. The gear shop has all the best brands, period, end of story, for the mountain hunter. Their research tools like Filtering 2.0, I can learn about different units I'm thinking about in Montana or Idaho or Oregon or wherever I'm going this year. I can filter it down based on my goals, whether that be trophy size or success rate or whatever. Use this platform, GoHunt.com. Use my code, whether you're in the gear shop or just signing up to be a member of Go Hunt. Use my code Altitude and you will get a significant discount, 20%. Outdoorclass.com. Outdoor Class is a place where you go to learn more about what you love. And if that's hunting, outdoorclass.com is where you should go, because you can learn everything from how to cook wild game to how to be a better mule deer hunter from Remy Warren, how to be a better public land elk hunter from Corey Jacobson and Randy Newberg, and much, much more. It's basically like masterclass, but for the hunter. Outdoorclass.com. Use my code Altitude for a discount when you sign up. We appreciate you guys supporting all of our partners. That's what keeps the show going. Thank you for listening. Enjoy Brian and I's conversation. Thank you.
You are listening to the Gritty Podcast, where we talk about all things gritty. Welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I am your host, Brian Call. I'm joined by Brad Hunt here, and today's podcast is with our good friend, Dave Brinker. On this episode, Dave and I sit down in an Airbnb in the heart of Bozeman, Montana.
Yeah.
And we talk about some deep subjects.
Yeah.
He's an entrepreneur. Right now, he has started the Altitude podcast, and he is recording conversations with great people, creating meaningful content there. And on this podcast, we get into some more details like around life itself and dealing with, I guess, the struggles of life. And it's a great show. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you get something out of it. And if you like the show, go check out Brinker's podcast, The Altitude Show, and check out his music as well.
Yep.
Can't recommend that enough. Leave us a comment below if you got some questions or want to comment on the show. We try to get back to everyone on the comment sections, whether it's on Rumble or YouTube. We try to respond. So check that out. Before we get into the show, if you're in need of some trekking poles, gaiters, Peaks teepee, headlamp, can't recommend Peaks equipment enough. They've got excellent gear that'll get you through some backcountry adventures. And the poles, the gaiters, the teepee, the headlamp, they're all winners. Check out those items over at Peaks and use the code GRIDDY, and that always helps us out. We thank you for tuning in, and stay gritty.
We are not wired to handle that fast of an emotional roller coaster. For example, when you're scrolling through Instagram,
Yeah.
like, oh, that's cool. I'm inspired to do that. Oh, that makes me, somebody got murdered. Oh, I'm comparing myself to that person. I feel like it again. Oh, I'm pumped up again. It's like your brain's just going, woo!
You're
and
absolutely
you do
right.
that right before bed.
And you're a 13-year-old girl?
And you're a teenager that's already insecure. I mean, even a 42-year-old man. I don't think my brain's made for that either.
No,
I can't handle that.
I agree. Well, I don't do it, David. I don't do it. I'm on social. I'm on Instagram once a day, maybe, and I check some things. I respond to some comments, but I'll go entire months without posting anything to Instagram.
Yeah, I mean,
I just gave for my own happiness and wellness, and I didn't think it really moved the needle either.
it doesn't.
Because YouTube films and podcast content, long conversations, those are meaningful. When I look at Joe Rogan, I don't care what Joe Rogan puts on his Instagram. I haven't looked at it in ages. I don't care what Jocko puts on his Instagram. It's usually just a picture of his watch. So, and he's all sweaty and it's black and white.
And it's 4:32.
It's 4:32 in the morning. So none of that matters to me. But I will listen to Jocko's podcasts. I'll listen to Joe's, like, on the regular when there's a guest and a topic that I think is useful. I consume that. And then you know what it does? It makes me want to support Jocko because I heard and I valued what he had to say and I enjoyed it. And I'm like, there's this desire to give back to Jocko because of what he gave to me. It's free. I get to consume it repeatedly. And so I think that's natural. That's good. And I really don't care what they put on social. I've never once gone to social and go, gee, what is Jocko putting on social? And I don't follow social media influencers. It's not a medium I consume, David.
That's great. Yeah, I could probably cut down on it too. It's addicting, man. Like, and I mean, I can tell who's on social media. Everybody's on social media. Very few people limit it. I get an alert after an hour. But
back to what you were saying about how you're scrolling, you're like, oh, I feel like shit. Oh, that was wild. Oh, I'm sad that person got murdered. This. I just am like, I don't need that in my life. I don't need it.
There was a book, or a pod, I don't know. I have so much confusion in what I've read and listened to lately because there's a lot. Because I work alone, I listen to stuff all the time. But there was someone that said, we're so focused these days on what we eat and exercise and stuff. But we don't look at our brain and what we put into our brain, just like what we do is what we put in our mouth. And I will catch myself. I'm kind of a news junkie. I love news. And
I will say I consume too much news.
I do. I look at the headlines probably 10 to 15 times a day.
Yeah, I'm worse than that.
I might be more than that.
Headlines.
Maybe I should catch.
I also listen to some various political or news.
I had to get off Twitter for this reason. I was checking it a lot just to get my political fill.
For me, I'm not too bad. what it is I want to know what's going on.
I do too.
And then I want out. Like, okay, I want to be informed, because if I'm going to be someone who speaks to people,
right,
does interviews, if I get put on something, I want to be well informed, and I have certain values. Like the Second Amendment means a lot to me. Freedom of speech means a lot to me. I want to have.
But couldn't you do that once a day? Like if you had an hour,
yes.
Tim Ferriss's argument in the 4-hour work week. If you schedule the time, I read the news like the guy, like our parents used to do. I read the news in the morning and that's it. I get the newspaper and it's over.
Certainly, and I have made a concerted effort actually to turn more to books that are like, if I choose to read a book, that is a concerted effort to take in something of real value.
Mm-hmm. Some health food.
Health food, basically. Or I could listen to today's political.
The Ben Shapiro show.
Yeah,
I listen to it every day. It's my French fries every day.
And I could listen to him, and then I can do Matt Walsh, and then I can do there's a long list that I could just go for, and that could. But again, after a while, though, it's like that's not as soul enriching as a deliberate, like you said, deciding what's going to go in your brain, as a deliberate effort to, put things in that will uplift you, make your life better, make you better. That stuff's really good to know, and you need to.
It's probably something that I'm going to be focusing a lot over in the short term, a lot, because I do not do a good job of it. I put a lot of junk into my brain between news and social media, and I just don't. Our brains aren't even remotely wired to handle that. We're not even remote, dude. The emotional roller coaster rides that we put ourselves through, no wonder we're all irritable and grumpy.
Yeah, I think it's one thing to consider, Dave. One way to look at it is, are you a net producer or a net consumer?
Am I? I'm definitely a net producer. But
so do you?
But I could
create more stuff that you put out into the world than you're taking in every day.
Yes, but I just think I could do a little bit more fasting and controlled diet of information.
I agree. I hear you. I just got that book, War of Art. War of Art. I got it because someone recommended it, and it kind of, there's a few things that they mentioned about it. I haven't read it yet, but what is your take on that book?
Oh my gosh, man! It's such an easy read. Number one. To me, do you want is this a spoiler
what's the
alert?
premise here? And yeah.
It's almost like battling the demon of creativity, of not creativity, of like the antithesis of creativity. Opening your mind and your spirit to true creative freedom, and learning to recognize the red flags that are going to stop you from getting there. Like, he talks a lot about, I can't remember all the terms he uses. Yeah. A lot of the stuff is just stuff he made up that it's his descriptors of things that aren't necessarily in the dictionary, right?
Yeah.
I can't, and it's been a while.
I feel like this book would have been helpful to me 5 years ago. Really helpful 5 years ago. At this point, I think I muddled through it enough that.
But I still think when you read it, you're going to go, yeah, dude, I get that. But I actually apply it almost every day to my broader life.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm a very simple person. Basically, it's the energy that wants to stop you from doing something because it might be hard or vulnerable or honest or whatever. It's like, I don't have to record a podcast today. No one's going to notice. I don't need to write this morning. I don't need to do this. I shouldn't write that. It's like this constant nagging energy, demon, whatever you want to call it, that's constantly surrounding us, that doesn't want us to do the thing, whatever that might be. And I look at it the same for working out or having a hard conversation or starting a business, whatever it is. It's that thing that it wants to keep you in your comfort zone. It's that energy. And he applies it mostly to art and creativity.
But you're saying you can put it toward anything.
That's what I do.
Any negative voice
I can
trying
feel
to
it.
stop you from.
Yes, it's like I don't know. There's so many things I can apply it to, but I deal with it all the time. And dude, and his book teaches you how to recognize it.
Yep,
it's not going away. Again, you got to learn how to cohabitate with this. He calls it something. Forgive me. Cohabitate with this force and be like, no, dude, I'm doing it. Get out of the way. I'm gonna say this stupid idea. I'm going to call this person.
I remember when I first started recording my podcast, or when I started making movies, film. Then put one in the Full Draw Film Tour. Look, dude, man, it took everything I had to expose myself like that. It was not easy. And the funny thing is most people aren't worried about my life so much that they even notice. Right? Let's say you make a post on it. People are like, most people, they're just not obsessed with me. And when I started to realize, like,
they really don't care.
They really don't care that much. You start to go, what's that say about me? I have, we all tend to focus too much on ourselves, and then because we're ourselves,
right,
and then think that other people notice too much. And so you see it, especially like my wife will say or do something, and then she's like, everyone thinks this now. When 99% of the people never even noticed or got that far because they're too busy with their own lives and all their own crap. Right?
Yeah, dude. I read a post the other day from somebody that I follow. They're like, at your funeral, people will get there late. Some people have lame excuses not to come. The people that do come, they're just going to want food. They're just going to want to talk about their problems. Then they're going to leave. And then, like, a couple weeks later, they're going to forget about you. They're going to forget about your accomplishments. They're going to forget about, like, the trophy. They're going to forget about how much money you made.
That's dark, Dave.
But, dude, that's
a lot of truth.
There's a lot of truth in that. Now, obviously, your close family and stuff like that. But the point of the post was, it's like, don't take yourself so damn seriously.
Totally. That's exactly right. And when you're talking about being creative, I remember recording a podcast, and I'm like, man, I'm worried about this topic or how I come across or what was said in here, or I worry about this film and whether people are going to think it's corny or this or that, because I'm showing people my mistake I made in this hunt. And then I'm showing later a correction, but I'm still being vulnerable, right? You're opening yourself up. Anytime you put yourself out there, you're opening yourself up to criticism.
And what have you found out of all the times? Have you ever died?
No. Still here.
Have you ever come close to dying from putting yourself out there?
Well, I got to a point where I will say, because in the beginning, I played it more safe, so there was really hard to find fault, right? As I got older, though, and as I got deeper into it, there were times where I felt a strong, I had a strong and passionate response over an issue. And I knew that what I was going to say about the issue, I was fairly strong in my convictions on the subject, but I knew it was polarizing too, and that I would lose people that followed me. But if I felt compelled to say it, earlier you had said, don't listen to your fans.
Listen to your gut.
Listen to your gut.
Yeah.
I made that decision basically on day one, and I live by that. So I've told myself, if you feel some sort of gut or inspiration to say something or speak up or cover a topic or speak out, do it and let the consequences be damned. And so I've done it. I'll pick the fight. I'll have the argument. I'll have the discussion. I'll air the podcast, and I will get blowback, Dave. Like I've been told by more than a handful I'm too controversial to work with. But back to the life I want to live, who I want to be, what I'm going to say, what I think.
You don't have to answer to those people on your deathbed.
And I feel like part of the reason we're in the place we're in right now in America is because people are too cowardly to say what they think. They play it too safe.
I want to know if you've noticed the same thing, but in my short time in the podcast world, but I've been doing it longer just in publicly. I've done tons of other people's podcasts, my social media. Every time I think I'm getting too honest or sharing something that I maybe shouldn't, it's never nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. Most of the time, 99% of the time, it's absolutely nothing. Maybe then one or two comments, which are absolutely nothing in the scheme of the world, unless you let them bother you. And even more important than that, what I've noticed is those are the things that I actually wanted to say. Yeah. I don't want... So we were talking about a creative idea that I have a couple hours ago that I might execute on, right? And one of the things that you saw it in real person, you saw the force.
Yeah.
You saw the force that I'm talking about. I said, Brian, I'm thinking about this idea, which I'm not going to talk about on the podcast. I'm thinking about doing this idea, but here's all my problems with it.
Right.
Here's all the flaws with it, and here's the potential negative outcomes that could come. Did you see where my brain went?
Oh, yeah.
And I heard myself doing that. I'm like, dude, you're doing all the things you should not be doing right now.
I'll say this, because you just said, look, you put stuff out there, and at the end of the day, nobody died, and you're still here and all that. And it's true for almost everything I've done. When I did get blowback, when I did get mocked, teased, memes made, whatever. And I've gone through, like anybody in the spotlight has, the hate. In the drama or whatever. Most of the time it's been superficial at the end of the day. People forget 3 hours later they're mad about something else. They're mad at me for a week or an hour. And then as soon as I drop some new thing that interests them, they're back. Right? And that's, I think, is just a product of the world we live in and attention spans and the outrage, hobby that most people have when they're on social media. They just troll. They're just looking for something to be outraged about.
They're getting their little high off of it.
Yeah, it's a weird. I don't think it's good for human beings to have social media. But I have been party to some very, very real and intense cancellations. I have suffered because of my stance on something, and I have received intense degrees of blowback. And the first time there's been a couple of times that were super intense, and I felt like the whole world attacked me. The whole world. I mean, it felt like, hundreds and hundreds of people expressing bitter anger toward me. And I'm not talking about anti-hunters. I'm talking about like people in our community, like hunters. And then organizing to call sponsors and to have them drop me. Say, I can't buy your stuff anymore because you support this guy, and massive efforts, and then losing huge portions of income because of those efforts, right? And the first time it happened, I wasn't ready for it at all. Joe Rogan got attacked over his content, and Spotify, there was this discussion, maybe Spotify is going to cancel him, and all these people had gone to Spotify to say, get rid of him, or, all this kind of stuff. And Joe came out and kind of apologized in a way, and kind of was like, I had this doctor on to talk about this because it made sense, and I'm just trying to have conversations, and I'm sorry if I offended some people, and I'll do better, and kind of this thing. And it wasn't a real full apology, but it was kind of an apology. Couldn't quite figure out where it sat. I didn't want him to apologize at all, but the intensity of what he was going through at the time, from CNN, from the government, from just people that had been on his podcast, from guys like The Rock, like people, like the whole world jumped on him for a short window.
Mm-hmm.
And you could tell, and I was watching because I had kind of gone through a mini scale of that in my space, my size and stuff.
Right.
And I didn't handle it great the first time because I'm a genuine person, and I started to doubt myself and you should when you have that many people upset. And I wasn't, I was a little shaken by it, and I wasn't sure how to respond. And I didn't handle it well. I kind of was like, well, let me rethink this. And I asked a lot of questions, and I did a lot of phone calls and a lot of meetings, and I discussed a lot of things and so forth. And then in my insecurity, I kind of did a little what Joe Rogan did, like, I'm sorry. I guess maybe I'm okay. I should have maybe done this different, and muddled through it. Right. And it cost me. And time goes by though, and nobody cared in a month, 3 months. The financial losses were done. And all it did though was cause me to get stronger, because I said, all right, first of all, in hindsight, did I do anything wrong? No. Was I wrong on the subject? No, not particularly. And moving forward, I will not be put in a position where I am dependent on a corporation that has no spine or balls. And I started to build a business around fans that support me directly, partners like where we build our own products, where I'm part of those companies. Like I completely built a whole new model so I could maintain my integrity and say whatever the hell I want.
What you're saying reminds me, Jordan Peterson said one time that honesty is the greatest adventure.
100%.
That's exactly what happened to you. So you did a thing. I don't know I can't remember the situation, but you said something or did something, whatever. It pissed some people off. They got your sponsor, da-da-da. Anyways, this whole domino effect that happened is uncomfortable and painful and sucks in the moment. But what it did is it restructured your foundation and rejiggered it around to actually be set up for a better future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
And oftentimes
the painful things, there was more than that. There was, you're aware of some pieces that affected me deeply, cost me lots of money, lots of opportunities.
Right.
All that did every single time was make me stronger and stronger and stronger.
And now you look back,
now I'm like
I'm glad that happened.
It had to happen, or I would be weak today.
Yes.
I'd be in a weak position, and I would be a weak person in comparison to where I'm at right now. I make my rules. I'm in control. I'm in charge of my future in a way.
It's hard to see when you're in that moment. I've had a few things in my life where it sucks to go through it. And you're like, I remember one specific thing 10 years ago where I was literally like, why the hell are you doing this to me, God? Like, and every day it got worse. And I'm like, I was just screaming to the sky, like, why? Why me? Why are you doing this to me? Like, I haven't been that bad. Why is this happening? And it was a professional thing, but it was a really hard part of my career. And anyways, long story short, I got through it, and what I realized is I had to go through that to deal with what was coming. The strength that I gained from that, and it sounds so cliche, but it's true. It built some muscles that I needed to deal with some other stuff. So from that moment on, I went, okay, I need to learn to recognize that. And even though I don't know why the thing is happening, I now know to recognize that as I don't know why, and it still sucks, but I know there will come a time where I do know why, and it'll lead me probably to a better place, even if it's the shittiest thing. Like I had a little cancer scare here about a month ago. I don't know if I can't remember if I told you or not, but I had a growth on my shoulder that my doctor thought had a high likelihood of being melanoma, not the good kind, like metastasize, all the things. So I had like a week when I was waiting for my results to come back.
Yep.
And in that week, I have anxiety. So it sparked my anxiety.
Yeah.
I immediately thought, what a stupid ass way to die. Just because I went to Hawaii and didn't wear sunscreen some point in my life and it changed my DNA and all of a sudden I got a growth. Blah, 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 blah. Anyways, when I was in the moment of like, I knew there was probably a good chance it might be nothing, but like looking in my dermatologist's eyes, I was like, dude, are you scared? Because I was like, yeah, whatever. What do you think it is? Like a mole? And she's like, she's like, I don't like the way that looks. We need to get that. And I'm like, all right, I'm a tough guy. Tell me best case, worst case. You know, hit me with it. You know, She's like, well, best case, it's just nothing. Worst case, and I'm a little concerned, to be honest with you, is it's like a growth that's growing pretty fast, and it might be metastasizing your lymph nodes. And if it's in your lymph nodes, then it could be other places. Then I'm going to have to send you straight to HSU to get a body scan and see where else it is. And I'm like, well, could you hit me any harder? and on the way home, I'm like, whew.
That's a rough one, dude. That is rough.
But here's what happened. So I'm like, okay, there's got to be a reason. Like, this is weird. I don't know how to handle this. And I'd never thought about this before. I'm a healthy guy. Anyways, I was so stressed out that week to the point where it was almost debilitating because not for me.
Yeah.
But I started thinking about my kids. I started thinking about my wife.
Of course.
I started thinking about the mess that I'm like, geez, I'm a mess. My wife was never going to be able to figure out my QuickBooks and all my things. And my poor kids, like they're not going to have a dad. You know, you're like worst case scenarioing. And for those that don't have the worst case scenario thing that I'm talking about, I know it's hard to relate to, but if you do, you know what I'm talking about. Like you're just jumping to the darkest part. Anyways, 5 days later, it's nothing. Whew, right?
Yeah.
The next day, one of my brother's best friends was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer at 43 years old. Stage 4. 2 kids. Dying. Bad. Out of nowhere. Had some back pain, right? And so I'm like, here I was putting myself through hell. And nothing. It's nothing. Now I got to look at her, and she is in hell. She's going through a terrible thing. I need to not jump to conclusions and learn how to deal with these stressful moments better, because ultimately there's probably somebody that's going through something worse.
Right. Yeah, for sure. You know? That is sort of that's an intense experience to teach you something like about yourself. Right.
Yeah. And it's like, I learned it's something I need to work on. I was weak in that moment.
That's what I was going to say, is weak in that moment. That's keywords because like I was saying earlier, when I felt like the whole world jumped on top of me, and when I had people that I trusted turn on me, that's a hard thing to go through. But I'd still try to do the right thing. You know, I wasn't, you know, it just, that's going to happen when you're in the spotlight. You're going to have people, you're going to have this stuff. And it's when you speak your mind, whether it's about politics, you know, it can be about riots, it can be about gun control, whatever it might be. It's very easy for people to be very passionate about those subjects. Like I said earlier, I want to be able to speak my mind and say what I think. But you were talking about a project you wanted to do earlier today. And I was just saying to you, look, I think you should, but you'll have to pay the piper. There will be consequences. You don't get to do that and also not have consequences. I don't get to do a podcast that pisses off 40% of the people and say what I believe and then also not have any consequences.
Yeah, maybe anything honest has consequences. Otherwise, you've just watered it down.
It does. And so I look at that and I go, well, do I want to sugarcoat stuff? Do I want to not speak my mind? Do I want to avoid the drama? Da, 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 da. Well, yeah, to some degree, I'll be honest.
Pick your battles.
Pick your battles.
Yeah.
But when it's important to me and I think it needs to be said or discussed, I do it. When I make a film and I make it how I want to do it, I do it how I want to do it. I don't chase numbers. And forever, people were like, you can't do an hour-long YouTube video. People don't want to watch that. They want 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 7 minutes. People don't want a 30-minute YouTube video. They don't want a hunt film that's an hour and a half. And I'm like, I'm going to make it however long I feel like making it because it makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do it this way. I'm not going to add music. I'm not going to do, forever I listen to my gut. I do it how I want. And it pays off in the end. But I'm at a point now, I feel so much better. And that's probably a bad sign because something will happen soon. Humble you.
No, don't be like that. That's how anxious people are. When you're not worried about something, you're worried about not being worried about something.
That's funny. No, but I do feel like I see people get a lot of hate or blowback for something. I've been there now. I've been there. And I'm so much more
empathetic,
resilient against it.
Oh,
like I'm so over it. You all run out and you hate on me and you write all this stuff and you call me these names and you post me across 25 different Instagram pages, and then I land on the forum and people are hating on something I said or did, and they're all this guy, da, 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 and they go off and they hate on everything from how I look to how I smell to how I walk, to anything, you name it. I'm over it. I'm over it. I have rules of engagement. That's what I call them in my head. Rules of engagement. If you engage with me and you're an a-hole, I respond in kind. Now, there's a whole bunch of people that are in our space, and for someone who works with various companies, they would rather have you like kill them with kindness. Mm-hmm. I'm not built that way, Dave. That's not who I am. So when they come on and they come on in a mean way, I respond mean. It goes back and forth. And you know what? 9 times out of 10, they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, I'm just saying my thing. Just kidding. Chill out. It's like, if I had come back with, well, I just trying to do the right thing and help and be all nice, that's not their response. No. They need to be called out every now and then. So I do it. Also, if you write something down, and it's a mean or crappy or just a bad take, and I read it, first thing I do is say, all right, who is this person? And I go to their Instagram, if it's on Instagram, to see who they are, right? Everybody has their profile and their stuff and da-da-da. If it's a private account, I block your ass. You're never looking at my stuff again. Done. You're out. If you said something like that and you're private, you're dead to me. You don't exist. You're a waste of my time. If you don't have the balls to have a public account and you're going to type that, first of all, you're not passing. I don't even know if you have all your teeth test. Like, I don't know if you're a crackhead in your mom's basement. Like, I have nothing to base it on. Therefore, I will not waste my time with it. Won't. You're just gone. If you have a public account and I look on it and you're 200 overweight and you're missing half your teeth, I'm going to block you. If I look at your page and I look like we have a lot in common and you have a wife and children and you look like a good person and you try to do the right thing, now I'm going to give you a chance. These are my rules of engagement. Because now I'm going, okay, this is someone who might be right. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me just, maybe I'm interpreting this wrong, this comment wrong. So I go quickly, I just kind of glance at it and I give a response. And it's measured and it's like, where are you coming from on this? Elaborate a little bit more. I'm not sure. I don't feel like your statement is fair or whatever. And if they come back and we have a conversation back and forth and we just disagree, so be it. That's fine. Like, I don't expect everybody to agree with me, and I'm okay as long as you're respectful that we completely disagree.
You should be really worried if everybody agrees with you.
Totally. But if they come back and they're just like, they do not come back in good faith. All I'm trying to figure out from the start when you write a comment like that is
intent.
Yeah, is this from a good faith place?
Yes.
If it is, so be it. We just disagree and you're mad at me. Okay. But if it's, I don't care what the truth is, Brian. I'm here to push a narrative about you. I'm here to take you down. I don't really give a dang what really happened or what you're really saying. I just hate you. Well, then I block you.
Yeah, that's a good rule.
And over the years, I've built up a long list of people that have been blocked. And look, the place that I want to cultivate is one of positivity, one of open discussion, one of good faith. So that's how I operate. And the people who get pissed off because I blocked them, it's like, you brought that on yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to, if you're going to do what you do, you have to have rules of engagement. Otherwise, you're not, like Rogan's rule of engagement is that he doesn't even look, right?
Yeah, I know. I've heard that before too. He's like, I never read the comments.
No.
And that has worked for him. But I want that community. I want to engage.
He's not looking to like engage with his
And
community.
his is too big.
Right.
Like, who knows where people are coming from.
Oh my God, dude.
And yeah, I'm just a little guy, you know? But I think how you handle that stuff, having been attacked and canceled and all that, and having major financial repercussions because of that, it makes you resilient in a good way, because down the road when all the drama happens, and it will happen if you're in the public eye, when it happens, you can just roll with it. You can just be like, yep, I'm good.
Yeah, it's definitely something that you got to have if you're going to do what we do.
Yeah. Overall, though, I mean,
Hi, Ren.
well, overall, I have all positivity going on. I mean, people read the comments of the films we produce, the content that we put out, the conversations we have, and it's overwhelmingly positive nowadays, and makes what I do, like he said in that song with Hi Ren, it's like there's a peace I can rest in, you know, because of what I'm trying to do.
I think about the 15 years that I've been in this industry. Let's just call it half of which I've been at least partially in the public eye. And I look at all the people around me too. Like, there's very few situations that have been so dire that it was really bad. And I'm not saying they're not stressful or painful or whatever. The point being is 99% of the time, it's pretty positive.
It is.
And so I think if your intentions are good and you're doing your best, yeah, you're going to make some mistakes. Yeah, you're going to hit your head, and we're going to make all that stuff. But for the most part, if you can focus on the good things.
Well, like you said earlier, you know how you were saying you were that part of you is with you.
Yeah.
It's the cost
we
of
cohabitate.
being David Brinker.
Yeah.
Right? I think the same is true with content creator who puts themselves out in the public eye. The cost of doing business is that you're exposing yourself and you're opening yourself up to ridicule. And people have a right to ridicule you if you have a take on a subject and they have a different
You're
one.
almost asking for it.
Yeah. I mean, I have takes. That's one thing that bothers me is if someone comes out with a statement and then they're like, how dare you be mad about what I said? It's like,
how dare you have
why
an
are
opinion?
you even having a comment on it? It's like, no, I don't expect that at all. I don't care. I welcome people criticizing. I welcome people saying, I hate your opinion. That's fine. That's what it is. That's you trying to have a conversation or just be yourself. And that's the cost of putting it out there. That's why I say if that project you're talking about, you just do it and you pay the price.
Yeah. I think it's worth it.
I think so, because like what we just said with this artist and others, when you put something out that is, because we talked about how you could sanitize it, the project, you could really put
just wouldn't mean a lot.
A new sort of just a light, a project light out there for the public to see. But the reason you want to tell your stories and the reason you want to do the projects is because they're real and authentic.
And that's how they deliver value to people that are living a real life.
If it's not authentic, or if it's been trimmed up, whatever, it's just not that impactful.
All right, so everybody, when I launch this project, and I get canceled,
you might want to build up some reserves first.
Well, dude, it's always a pleasure talking to you.
Same here, brother.
I'm glad. We got together. This is awesome. We're just, with everything we just said, I'm so honored, and I have a smile on my face to be working on the projects I get to work on right now. I was just here last week, and when I was driving into the office, I was just smiling because, and I'm not saying that every day is like roses and butterflies.
No.
But for the most part, I'm really fulfilled with what the things I'm working on right now and the people that I get to work around.
Yeah.
And Gary Vee always says, if you just look at your life like a basketball game as opposed to a, meaning like 97 to 87 wins, right? So more positive things than negative things, as opposed to expecting it to be 97 to 0. That's not realistic, right? I'm thankful for all that crap that I talked about and aired out earlier, and yeah, man, it's fun. That video you showed me to start this conversation, I'm glad you showed it to me. So on the airplane ride home tomorrow, I'm gonna try to break that up into chunks.
Let me know.
Really think about that.
Let me know what you think. In the meantime, folks, go look up David Brinker. If you haven't subscribed to the Altitude Podcast.
So my podcast is called The Altitude Show. It's on all the podcast things, Apple, Spotify. 58 episodes in. Brian's been on it twice. You can go check out those episodes.
We'll put a link in the description field of the YouTube video.
Yep. And then I would highly appreciate it if you don't mind a shameless plug for the YouTube channel.
Do it.
YouTube is fairly new to me. But my channel is growing every day. So anyways, the Altitude Show YouTube channel, we post all the full shows plus micro clips. I think, there's a few hundred videos on there already, just after the first 8 months of the podcast. So I would love to cross-pollinate our communities, because there's a lot of crossover, obviously, with what we're doing.
Oh, yeah. Head on over there. What's the YouTube channel called?
At The Altitude Show.
At The Altitude Show. Yeah. So head on over there and subscribe.
Subscribe, please.
Subscribe to the show. Like the video.
Yes.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah, and we'll post this video on there too.
Yeah.
And
as well on yours. It really helps. It helps to have all that community involvement. So check that out, folks. Thank you for listening to the show. Let us know what you think of this podcast in the comment section of the YouTube video. It's where I really try to engage with the audience. Is there. They're most of the listeners even are familiar because I put so much film out. So leave a comment down there and let us know what you think. It was a fun conversation. Appreciate you, David.
Yeah, appreciate you too, man.
Thanks for tuning in, folks.
Cheers.
Stay gritty.